Hello, ladies, and welcome to the Liberated Woman Podcast. I am your host, Christiano Green, and I am a mindset coach for women, and I help women to overcome rejection and doubt and stop sabotaging themselves so they can create the life that they truly want and deserve. So this week on the podcast episode, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that, I've been discussing with the ladies who've been joining my 5-day Free Yourself from Rejection and Doubt challenge. So I've been running a challenge for these ladies, helping them move past rejection, helping them overcome their own fears around doubt, helping them stop sabotaging themselves so they can move forward and achieve one of their major goals in life, right? And we're having some great results. And one of the topics that we were talking about related to rejection and how rejection really affects women in general. So I really wanted to talk about that today and talk about those different areas because really rejection actually affects every single part of our life, right? If we're someone who suffered from rejection in the past and we get triggered by rejection, it'll affect every area of your life. So I'm going to go through those areas so that we can really understand the depth of it, and then get some clarity. And hopefully this awareness can help us to really go, hey, maybe I need to do something about that. Maybe I do really need to overcome rejection. If that's you, then great. Feel free to reach out to me and I can invite you to my next Free Yourself from Rejection and Doubt challenge. It's coming up in May. So yeah, I'll give you some details at the end as well. So let's jump in and talk about how rejection really affects women. Number one, it's going to affect our mindset or our mental well-being. So rejection for people who've suffered from rejection, who go through rejection, who've dealt with it in the past, know that it really affects our self-worth, our self-esteem, our self-confidence, right? Sometimes even our self-awareness, right, of what's really going on within ourselves. And so when someone who suffers from rejection or avoids rejection, oftentimes it comes up because you get triggered by the events in the past that you've been rejected, or you're, like I said, trying to numb yourself from the opportunities that may lead to success, but could also lead to rejection as well. So when it comes down to our mindset, that's really what we talk about when we talk about our belief system, right? I talk about the ABC model, which is in my Total Liberation program. A is for action, B is for beliefs, and C is for choices. Now, our beliefs are going to lead the choices and the actions that we take. So mindset's all about our beliefs. So we've got some of these beliefs that, if we get rejected, that means that we're not good enough, that means that we're unlovable, that there's something wrong with us. Then oftentimes that means, that's affecting our mindset. And we're going to get really triggered by those events and probably try to avoid areas where we may deal with rejection as well. So that's how it really affects our mindset. The next one is emotional well-being. Now, for those of you who've dealt with rejection, like I can certainly attest to, growing up as a gay man, definitely felt a lot of rejection from society, from the bullying, from the other kids in the school, workplace, sometimes even my family, right? Affected my emotional well-being, right? And when we talk about the core negative emotions, we talk about anger, we talk about sadness, we talk about fear, we talk about hurt, guilt, shame, and rejection, right? And so these bring up, anxieties, depressions into our body, and those are the things that we have to focus on. So if someone's suffering from rejection or they have a high sensitivity to rejection, oftentimes it's going to trigger some of those core negative emotions, which is why, again, we try to avoid them or we numb ourselves from those feelings as well. Those are the things that common people do as well. So that's the emotional well-being side. We've got the mental side, we've got the emotional side. The next is our spiritual well-being. So really what happens when we feel rejected, we disconnect ourselves from ourselves and we disconnect ourselves from other people. Now, we know when we talk about spirituality or religion or whatever it is that you believe in, the universe, God, higher power, it's all about connection, right? connection to ourselves, connection to other people, connection to see that everything is oneness sometimes, right? So when we have, like I said, to deal with the rejection, or we try to avoid it, we're disconnecting ourselves. So that affects our spirituality and it affects us to really be able to connect to ourselves, right? And so oftentimes people who are really deeply struggling with things like rejection and doubt and whatnot, and it stops them and they sabotage themselves, they're not really connected to their spiritual side, which spirituality also might believe that the universe is taking care of us, right? That everything's got a divine purpose, that there is a destiny that we all hold. Some people really believe in those things, right? Um, Oftentimes we're going through the other stuff, we're not seeing those things so clearly, so we're disconnected from that. And so our spiritual well-being can be affected as well, because we often feel sometimes fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? We can be in those different situations as well. Next area that it will affect is relationships. And we're going to break this down to social, romantic, and then your family, right? So social relationships, how it's going to affect that is, of course, rejection often comes from other people. So it could be, like I said, for me in school, I got rejected and bullied by many of the other kids, and I had no friends, right? And that was my situation growing in school. Then I went into the workplace, and the bullying continued from managers and other colleagues, right? So for me, I isolated myself. I kept myself away, and it caused some social anxiety for me, right? And depression. So how it can affect you is you might probably isolate yourself from other people, or you might be cautious or fearful of connecting, especially to new people, because you're afraid of being rejected, right? We all want to be friends, we all want to have friends, we want to do things, but we don't want to be rejected. We want people to like us for who we are, right? And for me, for someone who had to struggle with the identity of being who he is, it took me a long time to actually own who I was and have the boundaries around that, right? So sometimes, like I said, if we are in a place where maybe we are learning these things and we've got people in our life and we start setting boundaries, we might notice that because of that, people might start to reject us. Like, what's this boundary that you're setting here? You're like, no, 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 you always say yes to me. You know what I mean? Sometimes people will struggle with that, right? And so again, we may hold off from doing stuff because it might bring up that rejection. It might bring up the fears. It might bring up some of the doubts that we have, and we sabotage ourselves. So again, that's how it can affect our social relationships as well. Next one is romantic relationships or intimate relationships, right? And this is what I would say the most intimate relationship that you have, right? Is with a partner. And oftentimes, like I said, you want to find your person and your person who chooses you. And so there is probably the highest level of opportunity for rejection from someone outside of our family, right? It's our family and then the romantic side and then friends, etc. are going to be it, right? Probably, and sometimes you can put the romantic at the top, right? So when we talk about that is, we want to find a person. And so if we're dating or we're putting ourselves out there and people say, you know what, no, I'm not interested in you, we can take that on and deep rejection. Like I said, we can tell ourselves the stories that we've been telling ourselves and have the meaning there and have those beliefs, proven, etc. Or, like I said, we have to learn how we can overcome those beliefs, change them, get ourselves out there and realize that, hey, the only person that can truly reject me is me. At the end of the day, though, we are, like I said, forming and looking for relationships. We want to already be in them. And so, like I said, having someone who you feel safe with is important. Having someone who you feel loved with is important. And so if you're not finding that or you're struggling with that and you're facing rejection, you deal with rejection a lot, your partner can be a trigger to you, because even if they're trying to be helpful and constructive, sometimes we can take that as rejection, right? We really can. And for a lot of people who've dealt with rejection in the past, sometimes, like I said, the smallest things can be the biggest triggers. So we have to really understand that what do we need to do to shift that around? How can I move past, and stop being so sensitive towards rejection? What do I need to change? What are some of the beliefs I'm being told now that will let that go? Of course, that's one of the things that we talked about today, and we helped some of the ladies move past, which is awesome. Because again, a lot of women out there who are single do suffer from some of this sensitivity towards rejection as well. Next one is family relationships. And we all know that, our family know us the best. They've known us since we were born, of course. And, oftentimes they can be very triggering, right? Now, the difference between, when it comes to family and those other relationships, most of the times, you've probably had some very ups and downs within relationships. It's normal for family, right? You've been through thick and thin, your blood, right? And some of the things that may have happened, if it was a friend or even a partner, you would have cut them out because they're family. We don't do that often. Some people do. Some people have had to, and that's perfect. You need boundaries, and we've got to talk about, how the people in our life, are they serving us or are they toxic, right? Some of the most toxic people are our family, unfortunately. So yeah, so for them, they can be really triggering, and they can be really triggering to us when it comes to rejection as well, right? We can definitely feel rejection from our parents, from our siblings, from, our grandparents, from our aunties and uncles, our cousins, whatever it is, right? Whoever we're really close to in our family, we can feel rejection from. Now, that can be because of your choices in life. That can be because of who you're dating. That can be because of your career, or, your changing of career and stepping out and doing something different, right? Um, so many different ways that we can feel that rejection. And for us, it's really, like I said, difficult because, again, most of the times these people stay in our life forever, even if they are sometimes the most triggering to us and toxic towards us as well. So it's about understanding that that'll affect you have a fear of rejection. It's going to play out in your family relationship as well. That's just how it happens as well. So let's move on to, say, like career now. So of course, if you're someone who struggles with rejection, feeling rejection, it's less likely that when a new position comes up at work that you're going to put your hands up for it, right? Because, say 5 people put their hands up and you go for the interview, say you were great, but there was just someone who just might have been a little bit better than you, they get the job, you could feel deep-seated rejection, right? That was me in career. I never put my hands up for new positions. I was lucky that people saw in me stuff that I couldn't see in myself, and they pushed me forward. And that led to career advancements and opportunities for me. But that doesn't happen for everyone. Not many people get someone who sees their potential and helps them, right? Most people, like I said, have to claw their way up sometimes. And so in business, or sorry, in your career, you may find that you hold yourself back from putting it up because of your fear of rejection, or you've dealt with it and it's triggering. Or like I said, you go through it and you get the rejection and you handle it poorly, and then that can affect you in your career as well, because maybe you've gone around a bitch and said, oh, they were prejudiced towards him, it was a man, or whatever. I'm not saying right or wrong, sometimes very people are prejudiced, but sometimes what happens is we can go and handle it incorrectly, we react, and that gets around the office, and people know that you didn't handle it well, and people then, people talk, right? So these different things happen. So in our career, it will hold us back from moving forward if we allow it to as well, right? If we don't believe in ourselves enough, we're not likely to put our hands up, even though we really want to. We want to move forward, we want to earn more money, we want to have a better career for ourselves, like move up and get a higher position, right? Next could be in your, even same thing that relates to your academic pursuits, right? I mentioned in one of the sessions this week that, I had one of my clients who came from a family, Chinese background, and her mother kind of almost pretty much told her what to do with her career and studies, and pushed her into it, right? Luckily, she was very smart, and she always was a straight A student. But the problem was that she was studying things that she didn't want to do. She was following a path that she didn't want to do. And so if she felt like she was going to go and do something else, she was felt rejected by her family and her mother, right? But then there was also, the side of it is that, like, you might put your heart and soul into something and you may not get the results that you want to have first round. And so you can feel rejected from that. Or you, like I said, you might have family who expect so highly from you, and because you didn't get it, you'll doubly feel the rejection that I failed, and the rejection that my family thinks I'm a failure as well, right? So it can be double as strong sometimes as well for you when it comes to your academics. So this is how it can affect you in your studies as well. In your business, right? I face rejection on a constant basis being in business, right? Often looking for new clients, looking for new women to help and support and guide and mentor and help them achieve what they want in their life, in their career, in their business, right? And so sometimes people just aren't ready to take the next step. And if that was me a few years ago, I would have handled the rejection quite personally. Whereas now these days, I realize that most of the time it's just not about me. Sometimes they're not ready. Sometimes they don't believe in themselves. Sometimes they don't trust themselves. Sometimes they just really can't, afford to take the next step, right? Like I said, even one of those things isn't about me. But I used to take that on board early on and think it was about me, but no longer does take its toll on me. But that's how it can affect you in your business as well, like getting on new clients, getting on new business. If it doesn't turn out, proposal doesn't turn out the way you want it, it can really hold you back, right? Next one is our physical health. Now, when we talk about our physical health, this can become in two sides of it. This can be like, I'm trying to get in better health. I'm trying to lose weight. I'm trying to work out more at the gym. And maybe something happens and it doesn't work out the way I want it to. I'm not able to lose the weight fast enough. And I then reject myself because I'm not doing well, right? Or I'm doing well and then I have a bad day and I eat like 15 burgers, so we sabotage ourselves, right? So the rejection can come up in that way. But how the other side of it, how we talk about how it can affect us, is actually when we're holding on to like this some of these negative emotions that surround ourselves when it comes to being triggered with rejection, that can stop the, say, energetic flow in our body. And if we're constantly in like a state of negativity in a way, that can cause disease in the body. So we can it will lower our immune system. It'll make us more susceptible to catching colds and flus, and even further diseases that can come from like I said, you know lack of energy flow and lowering of your immune system. So it's also, like I said, holding on to some of this negativity actually is going to affect your health in the long run. Alternatively, right, if you're not in a good space within yourself, it can lead to addictions to numb things, right? So you might be eating poorly, overeating. It could be that you're drinking alcohol more heavily, right? It could be that you move on to smoking or taking drugs, etc. Because again, some of these things are avoidance strategies. Don't have to always be, but they can be. And those addictions, like I said, try to numb ourselves or avoid, the rejection. It can form into addictions as well. So that'll affect your physical health, which then can lead to, again, more physical problems that will come from that as well. So that's how it can affect us on the physical side, on our physical body. Finally, we'll talk about the last two ones. The next one is our financial situation, right? Rejection really can affect our finances because, again, if we're not pushing ourselves forward, maybe in our business or in our career or in studying so I can progress, whatever, maybe you're lacking in your finances. Maybe you're not able to move higher into a higher financial bracket, and that'll affect you in that way. Or it might be that because of rejection, you jump in and you spend money on things that you shouldn't be spending money on, trying to numb yourself or trying to avoid those feelings as well. And so you could be spending it in that way. Or alternatively, you could be in a place where, again, you're afraid that, something might fail or something might reject you. And so you might have an opportunity for someone to help you and support you, and it might come at a cost of an investment where you can end up helping you to work through it and earn more money, but you get held back from it, so you stop taking the opportunities that come for you, right? So if we don't take what comes in front of us, sometimes it doesn't come back to us again, right? And so we hold ourselves back from the potential of making more because we're afraid, because of the fear of rejection, because we're fearful of what could happen. And maybe it doesn't work out and then I'm going to feel rejected, right? This is common things that we go through as well. So it's about getting out of our own way, changing some of those beliefs that we have, going back to mindset, so we can do it as well. And then finally, it's going to affect our motivation and our confidence, which does relate to mindset, but I don't think I tapped on it properly. So again, rejection, if we have certain belief systems around, say, relationships, dating relationships, or career advancement, the less likelihood is that, rejection is going to kill motivation and it's going to lower your confidence and probably sometimes shatter it as well. So it's about understanding that, motivation can only go so far as long as you have the right belief system behind it. If you don't have them, you're more likely to progress. Stop yourself from, like I said, achieving what you need to achieve, and that'll hold you back from getting what you need in your life as well. And that's going to affect your motivation and then your confidence around it. Because again, your willingness to do something and trying something new and pushing yourself comes down to your confidence. But that also spurs on the motivation. So it's kind of like a little bit of a cycle there as well. Those are the main ways that, like I said, rejections can affect women in general. And like I said, we cover this in great depth in my Free Yourself from Rejection and Doubt 5-day challenge. And so if you're someone who, found what I've been talking about today interesting, then feel free to reach out. I might leave a link below, actually, for you to have a look about a bit about some more information about when the next dates are on in May, so that maybe you can, like I said, find something that's suitable for you. Because hey, look, if you can spend 5 days with me, spend 5 hours with me over those 5 days, and we can, overcome your biggest challenge and help you move forward because you've let go of, say, rejection, doubt, and self-sabotage, then isn't it worth it to at least inquire about that? So I'll leave it below for you to do that. All right, ladies, appreciate your time and your effort and your energy. If you've got questions, pop them below as well. Reach out to me on social media, and I'll be back next week with another episode. But always remember, you've got this, and I've got you. Bye for now.